walk in, here you are, you're taking over something that you've been part of for a very long time, so it must be a natural fit for you. You don't feel like this is something you have to relearn.
Well, you're right, Paul, and it's been a case of, I've been in Tidy Towns, I think, for about 15 years, so it was a slow progression through the ranks, but no, in fairness, it was really an honour to be asked, first of all, to go forward, and then be voted into the position, so it's great. But having said that, it's not me, it's the committee, which we have a fantastic committee. Yeah. It's building, and we have a fantastic group of volunteers. So that's the bedrock of what we're about.
I should say, just to I'm delighted to see there was quite a few fresh faces too that I hadn't seen before, which is hugely important for any kind of volunteer setup. That
it is.
There isn't this feeling, which we're all guilty of. We just assume other people will sort this. And
well, this is true, and I mean, I'd encourage anyone really, if they're interested, in just getting out for a bit of fresh air, a bit of social. We've a large social side to what we do, because that makes it attractive and fun. And then be involved in
You're not swingers on this, no?
Not yet.
Not yet.
That's part of my agenda. I'll send it over to you.
Right,
definitely. But hang on, I better write that down.
What is it, twice a week, isn't it? You kind of all meet afterwards, then you have your kind of
we have a coffee here.
Sort of.
So we normally go. There's like 3 groups. There's a group, a very, very active group in Charlesland. Then there's the main group here in town, and then there's Frank Coyne's group, who do this kind of north side of town, and they're doing amazing work at the moment. So they're on the approach roads into the town, which are viewed very seriously by judges for the Tidy Towns competition. Right. So if your approach roads are rubbish and your town is lovely, it's going to go against you. So you have to cover all of
them. Your lines have to be good.
Yeah, exactly. And you need to cover all the bases. But we also have people in the volunteer group who have great skills in biodiversity. That's big at the moment. When I joined, for example, biodiversity, nobody would know what you were talking about.
That was for your washing powder, wasn't it?
Yeah, bio, that's it, God, you're a good memory, Paul. And then you have sustainability. It didn't exist years ago.
Well, these are things that are, it's not even that they're just currently being, they're a very, very important part, and you go back in time, they understood it more than we did for a long time. Just how much you've got to treat the soil and how you've got to treat
and our waters. I mean, we sometimes take for granted, but we've blue flag status in Greystones uninterrupted for a great number of years. That's a massive bonus. People don't realise it. Like the criteria to have a blue flag beach are high, very high. Now that's one of the projects. I was speaking with the town engineer the week after Christmas, I should say, week before Christmas, forgive me. And we're working with Rory to have showers put in on the South Beach, which is the blue flag beach. And I've canvassed a lot of swimmers, and they all universities said, that'd be fantastic. Because I'm getting in my car, in my wet robes, and I've got all this stuff in the seats are getting wet and everything like that. But apart from that, when you're abroad, you're on the continent, every beach has showers. You can freshen off, get the salt off your skin, and that's a plus. So that's one project we'll be doing.
You're building in the idea that the people in the cove will start complaining about the fact that they don't have showers, just so you're ready for that.
No, I'm aware of that. Okay. And in fairness, it'll only go with the blue flag.
Right.
So I think people will be understanding of that. So if you want the showers, you want the blue flag, go to the South Beach. But a lot of people love the cove. Like I swim in the cove every day. With my ducks. They've my girls group. And I was initiated last year.
Well, we just met Maita from the Frozen Fannies. That's a great name.
That's a fantastic name.
I'll have to put a gallery together.
That's amazing. I mean, I wouldn't get into that group. I wouldn't qualify on many levels.
But that's something now that you would hope to be kind of at the end of the year. There'll be a real showers down there. Or is this going to take a few years?
No, I think we should do it this year. I think it's possible, very possible. And Rory's very up for it, which is great. And the infrastructure for the water's there, because we put those white drinkable water fountains around the town a couple of years ago. There's one of them at the top of the walkway at the beach. So the water's there. So it's just a matter of putting the concrete pad in, put the showers themselves in.
Right.
But that's only one of the items. You see, what I'd love to hope, not being over ambitious, but we're that close. I think this year and next year, if we worked well, we could go for win.
Go for what?
Go for the win. Go for Tidiest Town.
Right.
Which would be amazing for Greystones. It would really put us on the map. It's such a beautiful town. We've lived here, Lorraine and I have lived here for 30 years. And children grew up here. Children are still here.
Yeah.
One married with 2 children.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
This, you can't
You're
get them
telling
far
me how
enough.
tough it is,
Yeah, it is. You know. I think we all know. But, you know, it is such a beautiful town. And I mean, as I repeated myself, but with the volunteers we have and the committee we have, I've got some really interesting ideas, I think, where a lot of the town could be enhanced. If you look at the sculpture over there, that monolith across the way at the park, I've a
That's
plan.
from 2001: A Space Odyssey, I think. That one,
It looks like it,
Yeah.
except we don't have the apes running
What
around
we
the
need to do
bottom.
is we need to put a map on one side of old Greystones and a map on the other side of current Greystones. That'd be wonderful.
It would be, yeah. That's a good
But
idea.
anyway, sorry, that's just
But the idea is of having public art in the town, like sculptures, or there's one lovely one I saw. I don't know where it was, but it's a big shape of an animal. It could be a big cat. Now this would be about 2.5, 3 meters tall, but it's completely covered in flowers, plants.
wow, nice.
Yeah, the whole image,
Yeah,
the whole
structure
structure
Yeah.
is like a dog. Probably a dog would be the most appropriate. There's
Yeah.
so many dogs in Greystones. Something like that, where it's got the real, wow, look at that, it's amazing, where did that come from? And then working with the town team, who are a very active group as well, in getting, they did a big job in the railway station now, which looks fantastic. The station never looked
Ross
bad.
McParland and I know Dermot Dwyer.
That's
this
exactly.
Is something that and the thing is that, as Dermot said, we did an interview with him. This is all kind of just done by people. It's not like they're getting a grant from somebody, or they're not getting money from,
No.
you know, they're not getting any kind of help
No.
from Wicklow County Council, other than they want it to happen and they're delighted that it's happening.
Yeah.
But so it's a real kind of genuine, you know, ground roots.
Well, it really is. It's a real case of, you know, the commitment that people are prepared to give
Yeah.
to achieving these goals are amazing. They're absolutely amazing. And
Yeah. And sorry, I probably interrupted you. Is there a plan for the monolith? Do you think there's something to be done there?
I've mentioned it to Rory, and I've got some designs
Right.
to change it. There was talk of taking it out, but I think not to go on too much about it, but just to change it. And I thought there could be different elements on it, like a marine environment element. So you'd have like dolphins, fish,
A painting thing, right.
just raised off in stainless
Okay.
steel slightly, because
Right.
you don't want children trying to climb up on it.
Sure.
And then have a totem maybe above it of Natlucalia, which would be
Yeah.
nice and Gaelic on the top of it going up.
Right.
So that's just a thought, very simple, inexpensive,
Yeah.
you know.
I think my map idea is better.
Of course it is, Paul. Whatever you say is better. I mean, you know, I'm just the
This
interviewee.
side, current Greystones, they are old Greystones.
But
But yeah, who knows? Who
You've
knows?
got old Greystones on the site.
Well, that's it. But when visitors come and they sort of see that dreadful notice board thing that's outside the station, which I think has now been wrestled back to the town. It just
That's
it's
where I'd
good
like to
have a
put
good
our
map.
dog. That'd be a great spot for coming out of the
True,
out of
true,
the
yeah.
station.
And so,
Yes.
so these are all kind of, hopefully this year. I know these things don't happen overnight, and they do take a certain amount of planning and planning permission and all that. I mean, your ambitions, they are.
They're realistic
Yeah.
if we can push them, and I know we'll get the support from the municipal district, because you know we've worked with them so well over the past number of years. I mean, in fairness, I'm not coming in to reinvent the wheel. Marie did fantastic work on the team, our team that we had, all of the volunteers over the last 5 years. So for me, it's just taking up the baton and going with it and bringing it forward, because when you're like Marie, so committed, you get burnt out.
Sure.
And she was just working morning, noon and night. People never realised how much work she put in to getting Greystones Tidy Towns to where it actually is now.
And on that front, I always feel, I mean, I just notice it occasionally, but if it's rather get to me, I'd go crazy. Just when you do see rubbish sort of dropped, and it's very easy kind of, you know, it's not far from a bin, it's on the route of a bin, or the good old, dog poop bag and all that. I mean, that must, I don't know whether you can just sort of switch that off, or whether that still gets to you occasionally when you see it. Because, you know, it's sort of part of life, unfortunately, but yet it shouldn't be. But
It shouldn't be, you're right. And I mean, this morning is a very good example. We have a team out this morning, just doing a complete clean up right around the town, up the main street, down around the front, or Church Road. I mean, that's us being active and quietly active.
Right.
But if you think about it, and I tend to be optimistic, or an optimist, I think a lot of these issues are so much better than they ever were.
Right.
Literally, like the time, and this is an important point, the times of children coming out, I shouldn't just pick children, but coming out and throwing their packet of crisps on the floor, on the table, the street, when they're finished, those days are gone.
Yeah.
Children are really aware that that's not acceptable. And that brings me to another point. Working with the schools is so important. We've got programs now that work with the schools, and we get them involved. We have a junior tidy town, completely dedicated, run by Rebecca Gill, one of our committee members, and that's her passion, and she does an amazing job, where we get the children out into the environment, we make it fun with them.
Yeah.
You know, and they get real benefit from that, because they're seeing what's important in our community and what's important that we keep it like this. You know, and they're so good. I mean, a simple project we did last year was all the little green boxes. You know, the green boxes. I think they control the traffic lights.
I saw those. Yeah.
They've all been decorated.
Yeah.
And they're so cute.
Yeah.
They just look so much nicer than.
Street art makes a huge amount of sense, especially in areas that might just need a little bit of colour, a little bit of life.
Exactly.
And it just takes away the idea that magic is everywhere if you look around.
And I mean, I met the students that were doing that, and they were so up for it and excited to be able to do it. And of course, it's a benefit then to the community. It all comes back to the benefit to the community. That should be the mantra: the benefit to the community. Because
also Banksy's a multi-millionaire. That helps too.
Get a bit of that would be great. Yes.
I'll probably interrupt you a little bit on the flow of just projects. You mentioned a few others. If there are others that you'd like to let people know about?
I have a couple of ideas, and I'm going to put them to the committee. Our first meeting is on the 11th of January, so I have a few ideas I want to put past the committee on, again, the idea of, you look at towns like Bilbao, we were talking about a lady earlier on. Bilbao is an amazing town in the sense of its art and sculpture. Why don't we make Greystones the same, in the sense of having public art and things where people walk along and they see an installation, or they see a piece, and they look and they say, wow, that's extraordinary. I mean, even the bear, and I know the bear is a bit marmite, but now it's there, people accept it, the children love it, and I think it's an example of good art, because it did create a conversation. You know, and that's really what you want, you know, a bit of a conversation.
It's nationally recognised that there are other bears around. It's not like somebody took a gamble on this work.
No, absolutely not. And Patrick Riley's work is fantastic, you know. And we're lucky to have that bear. I mean, that thing was expensive. You know, and it was again for the very worthwhile Caroline Foundation, which you mentioned, Jeremy, earlier on. Wonderful charity run by Helen.
These are, as I said, these are gifts to you know, they're not putting their name on it, they're not sort of, you know,
no credit for it.
That idea that it's just there for people to kind of get, and art is so important that way. It just gives you that sense that there is magic, there is, you know, beyond the normal everyday stuff.
Exactly, and give so much pleasure to people, and give them a pride in their environment, because I think when you see add-ons like street sculpture, street art, I'm not just going on about that all the time, you have to do the basics as well. I mean, no use having lovely street art and there's litter blown all over the place. So the basic stuff is important. So again, I would ask people if they have a bit of time, you know, there's no commitment, an hour here, half an hour there, whatever. But we do have a sort of teams going out Wednesdays and Saturdays primarily. And we're well covered on the town, I mean, in the sense, but we're always looking for extra people to come and help. Because the more bodies we have, the less time we have to go out, and more time we can have a coffee.
I just went American Beauty on us there a minute ago. There was a kind of a serviette blowing around in circles just outside the window, just to reiterate the fact that there are things. I like there was a project which is, I guess it's a national project, but I know it was in Bray, and I do think it's a wonderful idea that it was just the idea that when you're out for a walk, just pick up 3 things.
And
absolutely. Just that little.
And some people do that. They're wonderful. You know.
And I just think it is a cumulative. Like it is not a case of, well, these 3 or 4 people are going to do everything. There is that feeling that if you're
absolutely right. And there are people who just do that. They're walking through the Burnaby, maybe we can see here, but I guarantee you the Burnaby spotless today. You won't see a pick letter in it. So it does show like things have been closed and then open over the holiday. That's nearly what, two and a half weeks now. And I would think the town wasn't like destroyed with litter. People have a much better sense of, no, that's not acceptable.
It's a much smarter generation, which is the way it should be going up all the time. Like this idea that you know,
no, you're right, Paul. I mean, you know, in the old days, people just threw the famous guy with his packet of fags.
Sure.
The plastic went, then the foil went, and then
Nice. Yeah.
just there was no thought about it.
So I would hope, and I do get that impression that you're quite optimistic because the town is in good shape. People are much more aware. There's an effort, I think, by a lot of people to help us. And the volunteer front, as I said, it was great to see new faces.
Yeah.
So I would think to wrap up, you're quite an optimistic kind of chairman. You feel that there's good
I do,
things going
and I
on.
feel it's the support of the team around me and the support of the volunteers and the track record I'm carrying on. All these things really make a difference. And I think that, again, working so closely with the municipal district and the councillors, we have to bring all the elements. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. Each one clicks into place, and when you have them all in place, now you've got a dialogue with the right people. You've got the energy and the commitment. Like, we can't do anything like with street sculpture without the local authority. It has to be involved, and rightly so. They want to see what you're doing. They want to see where you're going to put it. Is it safe? Is all the rest of it? And that's very important. So yeah, I do feel optimistic.
And I should say too that the type of people who get involved they're such quiet, wonderful people, because it's not a glory thing. It's not like I want to be on the T-shirt. I want people to see me. And I'm thinking of that front. One I always think really represents that hugely. He passed away during 2022, and he was just a wonderful man because he was
my dear friend John. John and I ran the Christmas market over 9 years, and we ran the art show down at the harbour for about 10 years. And John was one of life's gentlemen.
Yeah.
And I mean that in the sense of gentleman. He was a gorgeous person, and it was so unexpected. When I heard, I could not believe it. I could not believe it.
Very crushing. But as I said, I just think when you need to think of what sort of person does this kind of work, he just has that in spades, where he just has no ego.
John, no ego at all. Just got out there, got on with it, enjoyed the fun, but was a really, really hard-working guy. Really loved getting out. The social. Again, I keep reiterating to people, there is a lovely social side to it, and it's good for people to get out in the winter. We're still in the winter, and short days, but it's good to get out.
And you're going to work on the swingers thing.
I'll think about it. Yeah, I better be careful in my new position, Paul. Don't be tempting me.